If you are going to do that, do it in sequence, do one at a time. But I say that knowing that if you actually try hard at the first one, you'll probably make that work. So try the first one that you think is the best one first, in which case, why do you even have 6 through 2 or 7 through 2? And I think there's this big idea. This is one that I remember talking to a portfolio company about. He was like, I'm not really sure if I'm passionate about this anymore. About this product or the company, whatever. And so he was like, I think I want to consider starting something else. And I said, what do you think the natural extreme of this looks like at the top? Because in my opinion, all businesses at the top look the same, which is you're going to have a head of marketing, you're going to have a head of IT, you're going to have a head of sales, head of product, head of customer success, whatever. And so if you win and you win all the way, it looks the same. And so where your entrance point to the maze is doesn't really matter if that's what the hypothetical extreme is. And so I have this story about a friend of mine who started a cookie store, actually here in California. So he started this cookie, and he was in fitness, right? So that was kind of hilarious. This really fit guy who starts a cookie store. And I remember I asked him, I was like, are you passionate about cookies? And he was like, no. And I was like, huh, weird. He's like, well, I looked at the market. There's a lot of people, and this was before Crumble. So he had a good inclination that high-end cookies were going to be a thing. So he did his homework. But what he was passionate about was being excellent, and he did amazingly well. And so I think that you can be passionate about ideals and translate that to anything. And so I had a conversation with Ben Francis from Gymshark. This year, probably the best day that I had from a business owner perspective was hanging out with him. Just had a really good conversation, and there's not a ton of people that you can talk to about revenue levels and problems that come at that. And we had a great discussion. And what was interesting, he was like, I can't believe that you're doing all these different things, because he saw each of the portfolio companies as a different thing. He's like, I can't imagine doing anything besides Gymshark. This is all I want to do. And I thought about it for a second. I was like, acquisition.com is the only thing that I'm doing. These are just fundamentally, you have different types of clothing. I can't believe you have all these different types of clothing, all these different types of apparel. So it's really chunking up and chunking down. And so if anyone hears that and thinks, wait a second, I thought you told me that I should focus on one thing. How are you doing all of these different things? There's a very big misconception when you're starting out that CEO and owner are the same thing, and they are not. And that's because in the beginning, they are the same because you're the only guy. But if you look at, Berkshire Hathaway, for example, Warren Buffett is not CEO of Coca-Cola. He's not CEO of Geico. He has operators who are in charge of each of those companies. Now, those guys couldn't run 3 companies. They can only run the one they're at. And he can only run Berkshire Hathaway. And so it's really chunking up or chunking down a level to understand how do you have multiple things, because you can always go down and say, okay, well, if you have an agency, then you have 10 clients. How can you have 10 clients? You should only have one. Well, the logic doesn't carry. But it's really just that one person has limited resources. And so by limiting the scope of the problems that we have to solve, we get more leverage, as in we get more for what we put in my opinion. And so that was how I reconcile those two kind of styles of doing business, is that I'm not CEO of any of them. And I'm not even really CEO of acquisition.com. If at all. And so that was how I made sense of that, because that's the only one thing that I think about.